There we go. Yeah, so starting and standing, just conscious of the fact that we've kind of not been doing very much balance work or standing work over the last whatever. So we're going to start there. So just getting set up. So getting set up for lunges, just come down to 90-90 with the hip and the knee. And then come back up from there, because that kind of sets you up for the length that your lunge needs to be. So we're going to do a few lunges and then we're going to take it into our single leg deadlift. So hands on hips to start with, lunge it down as much as you want to. Don't worry about how low you go. You want to think about going as much as you can straight down rather than forward, same as usual. Wicky ankles this morning. So let's just do 2 more. And last one. And then from there, I'm going to transition into that single leg deadlift. So you're going to come over your front leg. So let's go hands out to the side and make a fist. So there's a little bit of tension, nice and high with the chest. You're going to need to push off that back leg, catch yourself on the front leg, straighten the front leg out, and then hinge over. So we're into that single leg deadlift or arabesque or whatever you want to call it. And we're just going to hold there. So if you saw me do this one for the hip thing we're doing in December, you'll know about making sure both hip bones are pointing towards the floor. So, lost my balance. So it's pretty much guaranteed that as you've come over, you'll have slightly lifted whichever is the floating hip. In this case, it's my left hip. So I'm just going to point my left hip bone down towards the floor slightly. And as you do that, you should find your opposite glute switches on a little bit more. So holding and breathing. So static hold, working that glute. And you're going to try and find your lunge position again, so you know how long that is. Keep the arms where they are. Step back into your lunge position. Get balanced and get organized again, so you've got control over it. And then we go again. Into lunges. Balance is shocking this morning. I was practicing these last night and I was awesome at it. The joys of doing balance work first thing in the morning. And that's why we're doing it, because I figure, you know, it's all very well being awesome at balance at 7 o'clock at night. Should really be able to do it anytime. Last 2. Same thing again. Power off that back leg. Catch yourself on the front leg. Oh, I feel like, what's it called? Dirty Dancing when I do that. Imagine Patrick Swayze's got older than me. Random comment. So holding again. Drop your floating hip bone closer to the ground. It might only be ½ an inch, but it's enough to make you want to scream in the glute that's working. We're not going to hold it as long this time, and we're going to come up out of that, and then we're going to step into the other side. So switching legs, get organized again. So coming down to 90-90. So you know how long your stance needs to be, and then coming up from there. I need to come off my mat. So in your long lunge position, same thing, starting off with the hands on the hips and then lunging down. Anybody else's knees crunching this morning? Let's go one more. And then same thing, let's go arms out to the side, create a bit of tension with the fists. Keep the chest lifted. Do your Dirty Dancing moment up onto the front leg. You'll be able to see it a little bit better on this side, those of you watching the replay. So I know that my right hip is now floating out to the side. I'm going to let it drop down to the floor a little bit. So instead of being so difficult to do, pointing up here, point it down towards the floor. And hold a breathe. Check in with the hip, check in with the chest. You want your chest lifted in your gaze kind of forward and down, but not looking at the floor at your foot. So look in front of you. Keep your chest up and then landing that back foot down nice and long, coming back to our lunges. And make this your last one. Coming forward again, up into your single leg deadlift if you can. Pause. Check in with the hip. So it's not about how high the back leg is per se. It's more about making sure the hip bones are pointing towards the floor, that your back is nice and long, chest lifted, not sagging through the spine. And then release out of that. And you can have a moment's rest. Shake the legs out if you need to. Give them a rattle. Other than that, we're coming down onto the mat. So we're going to do our hip mobility, or some of our hip mobility, in a half side plank. So get organized in one long line first. So elbow under shoulder, shoulder, hip, knee, ankle, all in one line. And then without shifting your knees forward, bend them so your feet go behind you. So essentially you're still in one long line. There's a tendency to do this and bring the knees forward. Make sure that they're back so you're still lengthened out through the spine. And then pressing down into the elbow to pick the hips up. So you've got your half plank, hand on hip, or wherever really, doesn't really matter. I'm holding there. And then we're going to start with some leg lifts. So keeping the leg the same shape, I'm just going to lift and lower. And just notice how potentially as that leg comes up, the bottom hip wants to drop. So as the leg comes up, actively push down into the bottom knee to keep the hips lifted. That way you'll work the bottom glute as well. And then we're going to take it into circles. So again, the leg is staying the same shape, 90 degrees, and we're just going to circle all the way around. And I'm after the back, going back behind the body. So all this is fine, but how far behind you can you go? And again, you're not straightening the knee out, the knee's staying the same. All the movement is coming from the hip. And then reverse. So take the leg back behind you, up and over. And of course, as it comes up and over, you're going to feel that hip drop at the bottom. So see if you can push down into the bottom knee to keep the hips lifted. One more. And then slowly release down. And then we're going to switch sides. So either turning around or turning over. Again, make sure you get organized in one long line first. Elbow under shoulder, everything else in one long line. Bend the knees, taking the feet back behind you. Come a bit closer on my mat. And then same thing again. I'm going to lift the hips up from there, hand on hip. Once we're organized and lifted, we start to lift and lower the top leg. The full leg lift. Again, making sure as you come up that the hips don't drop down towards the floor. So I'm actively pushing down into the mat with the bottom leg. Let's go one more on this side, and then we're going to circle. So you come forward, up and behind. Like I'm trying to take my leg over a big, I don't know, big fence. I thought that was my cat, Andrew. It's your dog walking. I got very confused. And then reverse your circles. Behind and over. Behind, up and over. Last two. And last one, and release down. I'm only turning around just because I have a nasty habit of always working from the same side. In fact, no, I'm gonna do modified crab to start with, and then I'll go to the next one. So modified crab reach. Kind of know what we're doing with this. Get organized for crab. So, excuse me. Hip distance apart with the feet, shoulder distance apart with the hands, bottom right in between the heels and the hands. Squeezing the shoulder blades together, chest lifted, gaze up. Let's just activate crab there. So pressing down with the arms to lift the hips up off the floor. And pressing down with the arms to lift the hips up. I'm just going to do this a couple more times. I think you're probably getting the idea by now. And on this next one, pick up and hold. So there'll be a tendency again with this to, I'm trying to get into a position where you might be able to see. Yeah, probably there. This is certainly my tendency. As I come up and start to move here, I find myself tucking. So I'm rounding my spine. So see from here, see if you can untuck and create that curve in the lower back. So you try it again, curl the spine under so you know where it feels like, tuck in the spine or tuck in the tailbone, and then untucking. So just a pelvic tilt, where it feels weird in this position to do it, but tuck and then untuck, tuck and then untuck. And then just check it in with how much you've kind of collapsed into your shoulders. Can you push the floor away as you do it? So we do holding, tucking and untucking. And then release your bottom down while I just get organized on my mat. So from there, straighten out, let's go right leg, straighten out the right leg, pull the toes back behind you, and then bring your left hand inside the left leg so it's against your ribs. So we know where we're going with this. You're going to pick up the hips, pressing into the hand of the foot or feet. So you'll get so far, and then you want to come up onto the toes so that you can lift the hips up higher. And it's your choice how high you come, particularly if your shoulder's not great this morning, and then lower back down. Same again, coming all the way up and lowering all the way back down. When you're ready, add in the arm. So hips come up, and then you reach in the arm overhead, lowering back down. So coordinating it all together, lifting up and lowering down. If you can, and I say if because it's a big if, keep pulling your toes back towards you so that foot is always flexed. Get used to putting the brake on when we come out of scorpion. I'm going to do one more. And release. And then we're going to switch legs. So switching legs, switching arms. And if you want to make sure that you're organized in the middle, so you come back to a nice crab, that's fine. And then straighten out the other leg. The hand comes inside against the ribs. Toes flex, so pulling the toes back towards your shins. Same again, lift the hips, come up onto the toes so you can lift that a little bit higher and releasing back down. Lift and lower, and I'm still trying to pull my toes back to my shin the whole time. Add in the arm when you're ready. Last couple. And last one. And release back down. And I'm going to have a warm up for our, what they call it, side kick through. So I'm going to organize my mat so that it doesn't look straight. In fact, I'm going to do it straight towards you, because it's the angles with the side kick through that matter. So if I come into the end of the side kick through, I want my kicking leg to be straight out from my body. So I'm organizing myself on my mat so I'm at right angles. So my hand is going to be, I don't know, about 18 inches or so away from my hip. And then the leg that's not kicking, the toes are pointing in the same direction. Yeah. So we've just come from here to here. This is just the end part of the side kick through. And it's just to get you used to the setup, really, of where to land. So toes are pointing in the same direction as the kick, or thereabouts. That's actually quite tricky to do. Knees pushing away from you, so it's not just collapsing in. The other hand, so we've got hips down at the moment, so the other hand, kind of reach it towards your toes, and then pull it back. So you've got that stretching sensation. So we're going to twist the body and reach the elbow. For me, it's up to where the ceiling joins the wall. It's on that diagonal straight away from the foot. So reach down towards your foot and then pull the elbow away, and you twisting the body around, looking up and over that shoulder. So reach down towards the foot, you're essentially twisting the other way, and then reaching up towards the ceiling with the elbow. The hand that's on the floor, that arm is straight, don't let it bend. Reach towards the foot and then pull the elbow away. So you kind of get an idea of where that elbow is going. and how much rotation you've got. So now let's pick the hips up. You can leave the foot down, but pick the hips up, or hip, it's just going to be the one, isn't it? So now I'm suspended, hand and foot, but my foot is on the floor. Same thing, reach towards your feet, or foot, and then pull back, twist and look over your shoulder. Reach towards the foot, and then pull back. One more time, reach, and then pull back. And release the foot. No, your hip. Put your bottom down. All right, and then we're going to try the other side. Oh, so foot, no, legs straight out in front. I've got feet and legs this morning and causing me issues. Both legs out in front. Hands roughly in line with your bottom, just out to the side. The other leg bends it in, and the toes are pointing in the same direction as your kicking leg. The kicking leg, the foot's going to be pointed, and it is turned out. Missed that on the other side, but it is turned out slightly. Yeah. Okay, so from here, same thing. I'm going to reach towards your toes, and then you're going to pull the elbow back. So you reach towards your toes. You'll feel how you need to kind of rotate to really reach down towards your toe. And then as you pick up, or as you pull the elbow back, allow your body to rotate again. So my front shoulder is coming forward as my elbow goes back. Reach towards your toes. Pull the elbow back. Let's just do one more. Reach. And pull the elbow high and back. Then we're going to pick up the hip again. So you're suspended. Reach towards the toe. Pull the elbow high. Reach and pull. Reach and pull. Let's just do one more. Reach and pull, and then lower the hip down. So we kind of know where this is going. It's going back to beast, in case you were wondering. So from where we are there, let's pick up the hip off the floor, pull the elbow back so we know where that is, and then see if you can hover your foot just off the floor. So that's how low we're going to be. It's just a hover. And then let's pivot back to beast. So the floating hand is going to come down, the leg's going to fold under, and we pivot back to our beast position. And at that point, I get rid of my mat. So we're going to practice some side to side. Today's all about side kick through, and because it's a great movement. So now we've got the idea of being at right angles. Let's see if we can put that into practice. So starting off in beast, hover the knees. Let's go left leg, or whichever side is going to bring you to the camera. Yeah, so you can still face me. Whichever side is going to bring you to the camera, kick, side kick through. So I'm going left. So as you start to rotate, check in with your big toes, plonk the heel down, kick the leg, pull the elbow back. If you want to put the foot down at this point and check in, you can do. But then you've got to pick it up, bend it in, big toes come back together, heel lifts, you pivot back. Let's do the other side, breaking it down. So start to rotate, the big toes come together, the heel drops, you kick the leg, you pull the elbow back. Coming back, leg bends, big toes come together, heel lifts, you pivot back through. The beast. Let's see if I can tidy this up for you. So again, it's another tendency. As you start to move, you will automatically move away from your standing arm, right? So as you start to move, you'll push away from that standing arm and finish up all the way down here. It's because it's hard work on this arm. Yeah, I'm exaggerating, but you get the idea. Whereas you want to really feel like you're loading this up so you can pivot around it. So I'm not moving away from it, I'm pivoting around it. So it's staying vertical the entire time. It's harder, but it makes it a lot easier to do the movement. Give it a bash. So let's just do a few side to side. Just play with it on your own. I'll keep talking for Nicola's sake. She's promised she's going to stop coming if I haven't stopped talking. So let's go. So your checkpoints are, you're lifting hand and foot. The big toes come together. The heel comes down. the leg kicks, the elbow pulls high and back, and you've got that sensation of as much rotation as you can. Coming back, big toes come back together, heel lifts, you pivot back through to beast. We go again on the other side. Start the pivot, big toes, heel, kick, elbow high. Big toes, heel, pivot back to beast. And then see if you can kind of make it flow a little bit. So side to side. Big toes, heel, kick, elbow high. Big toes, heel, pivot back to beast. Other side, big toes, heel comes down, kick, elbow high. Big toes, heel, pivot back to beast. Couple more each side. Just keep moving through. All the time, just trying to get more control, trying to make it smoother. Back through to beast. Oh, boy, breathe a sigh of relief. Oh, right, so let's do a side kick through and then take it all the way up into scorpion and come back down to side kick through. So we know what those are. Yeah, done all this now. So starting off in beast, I'm going to go left leg, because I always need to start with at least one leg that I can remember the other leg. So left leg side kick through. So we go side kick through first, just as we've just done. And it's going to become a left leg scorpion, right? So that left leg is just going to keep traveling. Big toes, heel, pivot back through beast, but keep traveling up and around with the left leg. You come up to the top of your scorpion. So here we check in. Elbows, arms straight, bottom heel out to the side, knee bent, shin reaching to the ceiling, and then see if you can take your top leg any further over so you get more rotation, but don't let the arms bend. I'm going to come back through, I'm going to come back into a left leg side kick. So as the leg comes down, you're going to start the pivot on the opposite foot. Big toes, heel, kick, elbow high. Nicely done. And then pivot back to beast. So you come left leg under switch, back to beast, or under switch, back to beast, whichever leg you're doing. So we're going to do the same on the other side. Toes tucked, etc., etc. So this is my right leg, but you're doing the other side, whichever it is. So right leg side kick through, toes, heel, kick, elbow high. Right leg scorpion, all the way up to your top position. Again, check in, push the floor away, close the gap between your ears and your shoulders, heel high, knee bent, and then see if you can pick up your top hip any further. So you really feel that rotation and stretch down the right side. We're going to come out and around, leading with the knee, and come straight back down into a right leg side kick through. So hard to do it slow. And then pivot back to beast and rest your knees down. Oh, anybody else sweating? I'm beginning to regret the jumper option. All right, let's go, just because we've got a tiny bit of time left. Let's come into crab. So we'll go from crab into scorpion. So left leg scorpion. So picking up the hips here. It's the left leg that's going to travel, obviously. So you pivot through your beast without putting the leg down. Keep traveling up and around into scorpion again. We check in, push the floor away, close the gap between the ears and the shoulders. Heel high, knee bent. Trying to get your top hip on top of your bottom one. And then we're going to come all the way back through to crab. So leading with the knee, travel through beast, come all the way back over into your crab. Oh, and when you land in crab, don't land in a collapsed crab, land in a super proud crab with your bottom stuck out. None of this. No collapsing crabs, big proud crab. Let's do the other side. So right leg under switch into scorpion and then back through to crab. Right leg under switch, keep traveling with the leg, leading with the toes, up and over. Big stretch at the top, So my right leg is up. I'm going to push harder, if you like, with my left hand to try and get my right hip up and over some more. And I really feel that stretch down the right side of the body. And then traveling all the way back through, leading with the knee, right leg under switch, all the way back to a very proud, happy crab. Proud, happy crab. And release down. I'm not sure what a happy crab is. I know what a proud crab looks like. I'm not sure what a happy crab looks like. Right, let's get down to our pretzel. Assume the position, top knee, bottom ankle, pull the bottom leg out of the way, open the chest, and breathe into this position while this knot. See if anything's loosened off this morning. Actually feeling quite good. Got a sweaty leg though, I'm struggling to hold on to my ankle. And then gently release, and we switch sides. Oh. Top knee, bottom ankle, pull that back leg back, back leg, bottom leg, pull the bottom leg back. And breathe. And then same again, gently release. Don't let anything twang away. And job is good. Oh, so we got one more session tomorrow this week. And then nothing next week because I'm away. So I'm away. Well, I'm actually on a training course this weekend. Let me just finish the recording.